Hey guys, how's it going? Kripparrian here, coming at you with another Rastakhan Rumble card review. It's mostly a review, actually, but maybe you haven't seen some of these cards. We don't have the big reveal yet. That's coming up in a few days, but in Blizzard's model of, hey, here's this expansion, we're not going to tell you anything for 2 weeks, well, we just got a few of these cards, and it's pretty interesting to talk about because while the original expansion announcement was very good, very healthy for the game, there weren't very many hype cards. If you did pay attention to the original announcement and the cards that they did reveal, they were basically cards that had potentially extremely powerful synergistic effects, but they didn't reveal those extremely powerful synergistic effects. So we just kind of got a bunch of cards that are maybe good, maybe not so good. So it's kind of hard to really feel the hype on those. But those are very healthy for the game because cards that, require a lot of synergy to be extremely powerful, that's what you're looking for constructed. Those are cards that typically make it in the constructed decks at the end of the day. And those are the exact same cards that you actually want in Arena because in Arena, it's very difficult to satisfy synergy requirements, especially reaching the peak synergy potential of most of the cards. So if you're coming up with high synergy cards that are potentially played in Constructed and often bad in Arena, and Arena is fun when you have low quality decks, by the way, because you actually get to play the game. So that's ideal. But as ideal as that might be, it's difficult to be excited about cards with broken synergies, right? And by broken, I mean not yet satisfied. This time around, though, I have a few cards that will probably get you a little bit hyped up, and we're going to kick it off with Timeout. So Timeout is a paladin spell that gives you immunity until your next turn. This card is very powerful in every single paladin deck that's not aggro. The problem is right now, every paladin deck is aggro, so what's going to happen is we're going to have some new paladin decks. But I think that's going to happen. I think it's going to happen because this card is generally made for like a control/combo paladin archetype, and we have that thanks to the Paladin Death Knight card. And actually just the Paladin Death Knight card. But that is important enough to realize. The synergy between these two cards is outstanding. Your ability to gain an extra turn, potentially, at the very end of the game allows you to, one, play a lot more card draw because you're no longer afraid of fatigue damage finishing you off if you can chain a couple of these before you pull off your combo. And you can just kind of use your combo pieces without the fear of death from other players' combos or, a full board of minions. So that's really powerful. You can play Timeout on your turn, then attack with a weapon, not take any receiving damage. So you can actually use this as kind of like a powerful heal effect, which is why I say it might be used in mid-range Paladin. But the core of the card, I think, synergizes with the Paladin Death Knight card, and I think the reason Blizzard is releasing it in this expansion and not any before it is because that might actually be really strong/meta defining to a point where if it does take over the meta, it'll actually be completely dead in the next expansion because the next expansion is the first expansion of 2019, which means we're going to have a new standard rotation, which means all the Frozen Throne cards, the Death Knight cards are going to get kicked out, and I don't see Timeout seeing too much play outside of the combo control archetype. So it is what it is. Right now, I would absolutely rate this card 5 full stars, but probably after the Death Knights rotate out, a lot lower than that. Yeah. We got Ticket Scalper. It's a 4-mana 5/3 pirate with overkill, draw 2 cards. A few considerations here. So if it's not your turn, the overkill will still happen. So if this is just on the board and your opponent is attacking into it with like 1/1s or something like that, yeah, you're still going to draw a whole bunch of cards actually. And if it does die to something and it gets the overkill effect, you still get the overkill proc. So if, let's say, it's your opponent's turn and he has a 4/4 and the 4/4 attacks into the 5/3, the 5/3 triggers the overkill because 5 is greater than 4. They kill each other, but you still get the 2 cards. So it's actually pretty good. If this card had some ability to attack consistently right away, it'd be a lot better. But the way I thought about it is, if I was playing like the old school Pirate Warrior, would I want a card like this in my deck? And the answer to that is yes. I think it actually has a pretty good fit in all-in aggro decks because typically by turn 4, your opponent is basically dead. So it's very difficult for him to actually save like a spell removal. So if this is getting killed by minions, you're typically going to be okay with that. And if it's not, well, you're probably just going to win the game because it's an attack-heavy minion. pretty good. So I'm going to have to rate it in like the 2 to 3 star department. Probably not going to see much constructed play, but there is a chance, and I think at the end of the day it's going to be a pretty strong arena card because, yeah, it's like a win more card with potentially a lot of value off that card draw effect. We have Heavy Metal Warrior spell, summon a random minion equal to the cost of your armor up to 10. So it's basically the Yip effect, but it's on a single use spell. This makes the card a lot worse than Yip, but it makes it better in a way that you can use it earlier. The main problem is that, much like Yip, it cost mana. There's a big divide in Warrior right now where even though there are a lot of cards that give you armor, none of them are really worth playing instead of just playing Odd Warrior and using a 4 mana hero power all the time. So, if I imagine Heavy Metal as a 5 mana card, it would be auto-included in every single Odd Warrior that ever was. At 6 mana, if you somehow could have the upgraded hero power, it's still a very strong card. But yeah, you can't have the upgraded hero power. You can only have the upgraded hero power through, the Rastakhan. But then that's on turn 6 as well, so it kind of defeats the purpose of playing this on curve. So it just kind of sucks in that department as well. I think it's the first card in history that it would be a lot stronger if it cost more mana. If it cost 7 mana, it still wouldn't be very good, but it might actually see some play in Odd Warrior. But as it is right now, I don't really see it, though it has some potential if there's some extreme armor synergistic cards on their way, but seeing as we haven't seen any of those yet, I would have to rate this card 2 stars. Not quite the worst shit ever, but certainly pretty close to that. And this card is absolute garbage in Arena. In Arena, it's very difficult to scale armor very well. Belligerent Gnome, I saw this and I'm like, well, it's basically like another garbage stat 3 mana taunt. And then I looked at it some more, and then it's a 2 mana taunt. It's a 2 mana 1/4 taunt, which by itself is actually fair enough. And if your opponent has 2 or more minions, it gains +1 attack. So it's basically got the same stat line as the homunculus, the vulgar homunculus for Warlock, which has seen some play in some of the Zoo Warlock lists. So we know that its stats are good enough to see play in some kind of Zoo list. Now, will there be other Zoo decks in the meta? Maybe, maybe not. Will it kind of bleed out into the others? Well, if there's a lot of aggro being played, yes. So it has a strong chance of being played. I would rate this card 4 stars, even though it might look a bit underwhelming. I think there's a good chance we're going to see a lot of belligerent gnomes on the ladder, and, well, even more so in Arena. We have some pretty highly synergistic cards. We got like kind of the priest bundle shown to us, and I think this is kind of what we should have seen at the announcement at BlizzCon. So here's the first part. We got Spirit of the Dead. It's a priest card. It's kind of like the priest spirit. It costs 1 mana. It still has the stealth for 1 turn ability, and it's still a 0/3. So like, wow, this card's really good, right? After a friendly minion dies, shuffle a 1-cost copy of it into your deck. So it's not like a 1-cost 1/1. It's the full card. You get the full card in your deck, and it will cost 1. So the combo enabling ability of this card is actually ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So, the main issue with playing Combo Priest is when you're playing Combo Priest, you can't really play any of the combo pieces, and Priest doesn't have too many flexible enough cards to stay in the game sometimes, so you just end up throwing your combo away. If you're able to squeeze in kind of like this dead package into your deck, you'll suddenly be able to play a lot of the combo pieces that are minions, as you can play them alongside with this and sacrifice them on the next turn and actually gain an advantage from that. There will be potentially new combos being formed for making cards, maybe like Valen a 1 mana card or like Malagos a 1 mana card. And I'm sure there's going to be many new ones that are going to satisfy interesting combo requirements for priests. So it's certainly an extremely enabling card, though very difficult to say whether priest will actually be able to survive the onslaught of aggro decks or compete with the other combo decks. This card is certainly on a very high power level, and I think it has a good chance to cut through some of that. I wouldn't say it's certain, but I'd say it's a good chance. I'd certainly give this card at the very least 4 stars for what it's going to do. And when you look at the next card, that might make some more sense. This is the Priest Legendary, big dude, the Bonsamdi the Dead. The 7 mana 7/7 with a battle cry, draw 1 cost minions from your deck until your hand is full. So it has extreme synergy with the card we just talked about. So basically, if you're playing your combo cards and then you play the Spirit and then you just sacrifice them off, you can instantly get your combo back using this card. And that is very strong. That's a little bit optimistic, but it's also a 7 mana 7/7. It's not like the worst thing ever. It's a pretty solid minion. You're probably going to get some of your other just natural 1-drops that you're going to include in your deck. And with that sentiment, it's like you can just play this card in your priest deck. You can run like a couple of Northshires, a couple of whatever Death Rattles, and bam, good to go, right? That's it. You just draw like 3 or 4 1-drops from your deck, and you basically stack up your deck for some kind of inevitable win condition / combo, and there you have it. The flexibility of this card is strong enough that I feel comfortable giving it 5 full stars. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this card review, and I hope you guys tune in a few days for the next one.